NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? You know, I'm kind of known, or at least I think I like to be, or at least I portray myself as, and I think at my core, I am kind of known as a get your money type of guy. I don't do a lot of pocket watching. In fact, I don't like it at all. In fact, on this network, we don't do a lot of, man, back in my day, I wish players would have gotten paid type of talk. We don't even really promote it or allow it on this platform. I feel it comes off a little bit haterish. I feel as if, like I said, it's pocket watching. I don't like pocket watching. I don't like looking at what others have and starting to hate on it or starting to be jealous of it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to sound a little haterish for the next couple of minutes. So just hold on with me because some stuff's happened lately. And like just the way it's happening, it don't really sit with me. And like I said in the title, it's like college football at its extreme. It's the way we're going. It's modern college football at its most extreme. You know, I told you on this network earlier in the week, you know, last week rather, that mercenary behavior for Bear Alexander was kind of par for the course. This is a football player that played for 4 different high schools in 3.5 years. Okay, in his preparatory career, coming up into Georgia, or playing at Georgia. And by the way, I got it on pretty good authority that he tried to play the 5th. So like, there was a lot of movement and mercenary behavior on the high school level. There was 3 different commitments during the recruitment of this athlete. You know, a commitment to Georgia, a commitment to A&M, and then another commitment to the University of Georgia. This is a football player that has long been transporting his talents from one circus to the next. This is not new behavior from or with regards to Bear Alexander. But some of these quotes, man, I gotta be honest, some of these quotes and images that I've been seeing as of late around the sport of college football, not just this individual, not just this individualistic case, the sport of college football and the portal have made me kind of feel get off my lawn-ish. And again, we don't do a lot of this. We don't do a lot of Brooks, you know, yelling at kids to get off his lawn because he's upset about the way things are. We don't do a lot of that on this program, but we're about to. Okay, listen to some of these quotes, man. Quote, not to brag on myself, but everybody wants the big bear. Everyone needs a big 300-pounder that can move with twitch, the burst, the explosion that I bring to the game. Everyone needed that as a part of their defense, okay? Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, he's doing this interview with ESPN that I just rattled off for you some quotes from. He's doing this interview from a penthouse suite in Las Vegas, Nevada, which, by the way, he flew a private jet, per his Instagram, a private jet from L.A. where he was visiting USC, a private jet from L.A. to Las Vegas to announce his commitment, spending time out there in Vegas. By all means, have a great time. This was obviously short after he was in Athens, where he had a professional photo shoot in front of his $120,000 brand new Porsche Panamera. Again, have good time, have great time, all good stuff. This was also, of course, right after a trip to Mexico. This is what college football has become at its extreme, at its most highest levels, right? For some, okay? And I'm fine with it. Again, I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I am all good with what is going on. I'm prefacing this with saying I'm not hating on this. I'm trying not to. I'm trying my best. But when does this become just a bit too much, right? When does this behavior, or not necessarily behavior, but this lifestyle, when does it become too much for young people, right? Notice I'm not pointing any fingers at one particular school. I think they're all guilty. I think everyone's doing what they need to be doing to have talent acquisition. It's the part of the business. It is what it is. I'm saying, when is it? When does it become just a little bit too much? Okay. I'm just telling you, the world of college football, this is the way it is for some. Okay. This is the way it has now become, right? It is the trips to Mexico. It is the private jets. It is the driving the Porsches. And guess what? That's all great. Okay. And again, at its most extreme levels of college football, this is what it's become. Okay. And I'm fine with that. But if I could just speak to the player just for a little bit, and I really hate doing this because this is going to come off as me, a 28-year-old fathead who sits here and gives opinions. This is going to sound like I am speaking down to a 19-year-old man or a 20-year-old man that's in the midst of his journey. Okay. And I'm not trying to do that because by all means, Bear Alexander is far more talented at what he is. Probably, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's more talented at what he does than what I do. Okay. Whatever it is. But if Bear Alexander was someone I cared about, Bear Alexander was someone that I had love for, right? I would tell him, just like I would tell my own son or any football player that's gifted with these types of talents, just like I've told some of his teammates, do not, do not fall in love with the things that football brings you in life. Continue to love the game of football as if you were 8, right? As if when you first fell in love with football, when it's at its most purest form, because that's the only way you're going to survive this. That's the only way you're going to work at this game like it's your life, right? Like you love it to death, not just what it brings to you in life. Okay, not just the fancy trips, not just the jets, not just the planes, not just the Porsches. Okay, for everything that football brings you in life, make sure you love football first, not all of the joys. Okay, it's good, it's great to enjoy all the riches, and by all means, Bear Alexander may still be on the path to an NFL future. Okay, by all means, he may be on the path to an NFL future, but the path that he has now taken, just like maybe the path previously, it is not guaranteed to be a first-round draft pick. It's not guaranteed to dump you on the doorsteps of greatness. It's not guaranteed to dump you on the doorsteps of millions of dollars. That is not how this works. He has now diverted the path, okay? And that's okay, just like he diverted the path all the way up to the landmark that was Georgia football. And I'm not saying that Bear Alexander needed Georgia to be an NFL football player, but I think some people do. I think some people need structure. I think some people need to be tested and trialed and all that good stuff. Okay, and I don't mean to compare apples to oranges, but does anybody remember Corey Foreman? Corey Foreman was the number 1 player in America in 2021. Corey Foreman is he's got to go into his junior year this year, and he has to have a 10, 12 sack performance to live up to the 5-star status, the number 1 player in the country type of status that he was entering college with. Like, that's a long leap from where he was just in 2 years of being at USC. Okay, so there are very, very important decisions when it comes to development and all that good stuff. Because I'm of the firm belief that the most formative years of your life, and you guys may agree with this or not, but this is my opinion. Okay, which is a lot of what NBR is. It is of my belief that your most formative years in life are from that range of 18 to 23 as a man. Okay, I can only speak for as a man. I have not had this discussion with my wife, nor my mother, nor any of the women close to me in my life. So I'm going to speak as a man. From 18 to 23, that is when you develop who you are. That is who you develop your individuality, right? And it happens to just so align with what we know as college, right? This environment that you get immersed in, but it's not necessarily that. College is where you learn who you are. It's not who you learn what your mom taught you or what your dad taught you or what your environment taught you or what your grandparents taught you or whatever it is that you came into your preconceived notion or who you were. Okay, college is about finding that out, immersing yourself into a bunch of other people and figuring out who you are in times of solidarity, who you are in times of loneliness, who you are in times of strife and struggle, okay, and challenges, right? Who you are in that moment, okay, as an individual defines who you will be probably the rest of your life. Again, that is your most formative years. That is where we rip the cocoon and the protection shell off of your body and throw you into a new environment and say sink or swim. Okay. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be college. Okay. I think there are 3 things that kind of revolve around, how to become an individual. I think you need time. I think you need space. And I think you need struggle. I think if you don't have those things, if you don't have time by yourself, okay, space to be by yourself and struggle to fight through within yourself, okay, you will never figure out who you are as an individual. And if you don't figure those things out, well, then that's just life. You're just probably not going to figure it out moving forward. But for most people, particularly talented football players, these developmental years, these finding out who you are as an individual, finding out who you are as an individual talent within football, those happen in college. Like, there are no preparatory environments for you other than that for where you want to go, right? You want to play professional football. There are no testing grounds for that or trying grounds for that or ways to figure out who you're going to be without going through it in college. There's just none of that. So where you are and who you surround yourself with during those times is beyond vital. So 5-star football players, if you're listening, 1%ers, if you're listening to me, listen to me closely. Who you entrust those 4 to 5 years with is beyond vital. Absolutely beyond vital. I can't wait to track these types of things. I think we don't necessarily need them. Okay, the football schools that produce NFL talents are at the highest rates are the same schools. They've been the same schools for the last 10 years of college football. Okay, and if you're not at one of those schools, I'm not saying you're not guaranteeing yourself to not go there. Okay, But let's take him for example, and this will be a great testing ground for us in a year. Okay, when Travis Hunter becomes available. Travis Hunter is entering his second year of college football. Where he chose to play his college football matters. Okay, he was committed to Florida State. A close running was Georgia. He goes to Jacksonville State. He's going to finish out his career at Colorado, most likely, unless Deion leaves. So if he still maintains first-round draft status, if he still maintains number one overall draft status, then yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you go, kids. It doesn't. Do whatever you want. Chase whatever bags you want. Don't prioritize football. Do nothing. Just go. God did. God will give you enough talent. Do whatever you want. But that's not the case. That's not always been the case. In fact, that's never been the case, really. There are statistical anomalies. Okay, there are. There are Cam Newtons of this world. There are Percy Harvins of this world where it just didn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where that guy plays football. Cam Newton could have played one season at Tittawada Tech. He's 6'6", threw it 70 miles, and ran a 4.48. NFL football player, gonna be. Okay, but the 1 year he had at Auburn, the one national title run that he only got at Auburn, right? That's what made him 1.1. That's what made him pick one over one, right? That's what made him a $40 million man out of college. Not because he was just gifted. It does matter. I hate when people tell kids that this stuff doesn't matter. Oh, you're God's gift of football. You can go wherever you want. You're already an NFL player, Bear Alexander. You can go wherever you want. It's not true. It's not true. Welcome in, man. We got a great show for you guys playing tonight. As you can probably tell from the opening, it's been a while since we ran it, so we really got to warm up into this. I'm going to give that opening take like a B-. Don't think it was great. We got some great stuff for you guys tonight. We had some great stuff for you last week. It's why NBR is so rusty right now. It's why we're warming up into the takes tonight. Because we did film all week last week, and film is very easy for me. I got the notes right there in front of me. I just rat-a-tat-tat. We go from play to play to play, and we're just talking to you like we're in the middle of a boardroom or whatever. We're in the middle of a football room. This is different. This is very interactive. This is very me to you right here as an audience member, host to audience. So I appreciate you for being here. Hit that thumbs up button and fire off that live chat while you're here. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you haven't caught up on those film studies, please go back and do so. There is a tremendous amount of content, not only here on YouTube, but obviously over on Patreon, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. For all the full breakdowns of the spring game, all the additional intel. Coaches are back on the trail recruiting, so we got some stuff over there this morning. Again, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Just support us however you support us. I know. I ask y'all to do this every show. I'm not one of those cool shows yet that has one of these black, like flash and subscribe to the channel type stuff. I don't even know if I have one. Like they make banners in here and all that good stuff. Oh, look, like this right here. Does that make you want to subscribe to the channel more or less? I don't know. When I watch shows and they do this stuff to me, if it's not actually clickable, I kind of just hate them. So don't hate me. Okay. Just support me. Okay. Just support me however, wherever you can. So we open the show with some quotes from the big Bear Alexander. Man, I should have added it on. Not great quotes, man. Not great quotes. I don't need to harp on it anymore. Just very individualistic, very like self-centered, all that good stuff. It read and sounds like a football player that has been told his whole life that he can do no wrong on the football field, that he is God's gift of football. And you know what? Maybe he is, but even those people got to work their ass off to achieve what God blessed them with. You know what I mean? So just be careful. That's all I'm saying. I know like people, he don't watch the show. I'm telling you that right now. And even if you send it to him, he's going to cut it off anyways. He's not going to listen to this stuff. Because if he was, he probably would have listened to it already. But nonetheless, be wary. Young people, if you're listening to this show, be very wary who you surround yourself with, who tells you all the time that you are the greatest thing ever. It's not good for you. Okay. It's poison. The reason we hired, not to go too far deep, the reason we are getting producers involved with this show is so people will cut me down and say that was bad. I guarantee you, Kirby will text me after this show and say that opening segment ranted, like not rant in a good way. It was bad. You need people around you to call you into check. That's not just football. That's nothing. That's me trying to give you some life advice. But we opened the show with some good quotes, and everyone, like you said, had the Big Bear quote. And that's all good. And, you know, I learn a lot about football players from actually watching them play football. It's obviously what we do on this network, right? the film guy, right? We watch film. We evaluate football players for who they are in between the lines. That's what we do best. I think we do that better here than anybody else. I will hold my scouting evaluations with anybody, except for maybe Daniel Jeremiah. That's the only guy where I'm like, he scouts circles around me. Anybody else, I'm confident enough to tell you I know a good football player from Adam. All right, so nonetheless, that's what we do here. But I have a tremendous joy and I have a tremendous passion about listening to football players talk about their own game, okay? And in particular, quarterbacks, okay? Because it's a position that is very foreign to me. It's a position that I'm always constantly like trying to learn more about. I'm fascinated with just throwing footballs, right? Something I'm super passionate about, and football in general. And I think that's the most important position in all of sports. What happened to my voice? In all of sports. So when I have a chance to speak to people, particularly quarterbacks, I like to about the position. And I find a tremendous value in it. I learn a lot about those individuals in those moments. And I haven't gotten a chance to speak to Brock Vandergriff since 2020, okay, since November of 2020, if my memory serves me, because once you go to the University of Georgia, if you're not a starter, you're pretty much locked in the locker rooms, and ain't no camera ever going to sniff you except for Tony Walsh's. So, and that one's still. So, yeah, you ain't going to get to talk your talk, and you ain't going to get to do none of that. We ain't going to hear from you until you become a guy, all right? So we had an opportunity to talk to Brock Vandergriff for the first time, okay, since he was the number 2 quarterback in the country. And now we're talking to him as the number 2, most likely, number 2 quarterback on his own football team. Okay, these are 2 totally different individuals, and I want you to listen to these cuts or these clips that I cut up from the interview from after G-Day. And I want to highlight some things here. I'm going to try to do a decent job of stopping it and just kind of taking this question by question and just highlighting the things that stand out, that should stand out in this video clip. Because, guys, this is really not necessarily like high-level football talk, but this is learning about a human and a human that plays for your football team that you don't know a ton about since he was 18 years old. And he's a completely different human being now, and he's a completely different football player, and I think it's worth noting and pointing out. So here we go.
Such a different skill set, particularly you and Carson. How have y'all gone about maybe instilling an offense that, you know, suits your talents while also suiting his talents, while also suiting the team?
Yes, sir. At the end of the day, it's all about what's best for the team, and I just think that there's some plays that are maybe won't be ran when number 15's in. There would be some plays that would be ran when me or Gunner are in, but that's just part of it, and you're going to have that in whatever system you're in. And Coach Bobo, he's done a great job of just explaining when that's going to happen and stuff like that. Like, I think Gunner had a rushing touchdown today. They might have pulled the read key off of that and just told that guy to block if me or Carson was in, but that's just about that. Yes, sir.
That's just about that. Yes, sir. Love that part. Good old coach boy Brock Vandergriff. But that first question that I asked him about, hey, what's the differences between the offense? I think the very first thing that popped off, right? What does the team need first? That's the very first lead with Brock Vandergriff. That's his first thought, as most quarterbacks are. Boom. Bingo. You hear the president of the organization, the face of your organization type of guy, okay, an intern for that role, right? You hear him speak like a professional, like he's supposed to. But I think the other thing that stood out in that first question right there, right, was they have obviously had talks between Bobo, Gunner, and Brock and Carson Beck about what the offenses are supposed to feel like, look like, and be with each individual quarterback. So I know there's been some questions and some fears about Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo sounds to me like he's doing the job, okay? He's doing what he's supposed to be doing to develop 3 quarterbacks and 3 totally different offenses for when they are ready. I think that's very, very vital. The third thing I picked up from that, okay, did you hear what he said? That Gunner got the read key, that Gunner got the touchdown run, right? And had me or Carson been in there, maybe that key is not kept on the play call. So that tells me that Brock Vandergriff and Carson Beck are linked in one, okay? Or at least in Vandergriff's mind, they are linked in one with regards to how they will be called with their legs. I think that's very, very vital, okay, moving forward. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, hey, if Brock Vandergriff's your quarterback at the University of Georgia, now all of a sudden you're this super freaky offense with this super freaky athletic quarterback. Yeah, he is great with his legs. That's not what they want him to be. That was a sign in question number 1. Let's go to question and portion of this conversation number 2 right here.
How'd you feel like you played today?
I feel like I had a pretty solid day, and it's just a sum of my overall spring. I think I had a pretty solid spring, but I'm not sure what my numbers were, but I think I got after it. Could have improved a little bit on accuracy and probably some happy feet at times, which I've been trying to steadily work on this spring. But at the end of the day, I think I put the ball in the dude's hands that needed to be, except for one time. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
So you hear him. I think the big takeaway there for me is accuracy and happy feet, right? I love listening to football players or just humans in general have self-reflection, be able to identify their flaws. That right there is what I hear. I hear a football player that knows, bingo, I do not always time up and act. I'm not an accurate thrower right now. And part of that is because boom, I have happy feet. Tremendous self-recollection or recognition right there from Vandergriff. Let's go to question number 3.
This spring, the main thing I think I improved on is just being a student of the game, just being able to learn. And I was up there with one of our coaches just watching film, trying to do that every morning. And just to be able to get my mindset ready for the day. And I woke up today and I was like, wow, this is our last day of the spring. And it's just from being locked in. I believe that's really important at the quarterback position.
You hear him right there? Talks about meeting with his coach every single morning, preparing as if he is the starter, right? Going through his daily habits of what it requires to be a professional. That's what I heard right there, right? Building daily habits. It's exactly what you heard him say. Main thing I worked on this spring was becoming a student of the game. Question number 4, I thought this one was awesome as well.
What can you keep doing to keep improving your game come the fall?
Yeah, I think I was saying earlier, just learning more about football. Like in high school, it was kind of a look out there. This guy's probably going to be open. If he's not open, just take off and run. And you can't do that in college. There's D linemen that are as fast as me. So just being able to learn more about the game, whether that's what we're doing on Georgia, seeing that in the summer and the fall, or what we're going to do against the teams we might play next year. But just learning more about the game of football. That way I can be more quick with my decisions. That way my arm doesn't have to make up for being late sometimes.
You guys have such a
I just got to tell you, man, there's so much growth and again, self-introspection in those answers. If you listen to them, it's why I tweeted the way I did immediately after that Saturday on G-Day. I said, I have a feeling none of these guys are leaving. None of these quarterbacks. If you just listen to them, if you are in person, if you watch that, or even if you watch that just now, right, it's impossible to leave that and come away with any other thought, in my opinion, that young man, Brock Vandergriff, knows exactly not only where his deficiencies are, but has a comfortable plan on how to correct those deficiencies where his feet are planted. Okay, that was a football player. I listened to him. Listen, I mean, he talks about happy feet, something he's got to clean up. He talks about later on, talk about playing fast, okay, matching his feet with his eyes and getting much, much better, right? Learning football, okay? He says, quote, learning more about football. In high school, it was look out there. This guy's probably open. You can't do that in college. Defensive linemen are just as fast as me, okay? Talks about being more quick with his decisions so his arm doesn't have to, quote, make up for being late sometimes. Guys, Brock Vandergriff in 4 minutes gave you his entire eval. He gave you everything that he had not his entire eval. He only gave you his deficiencies. He only looked inward and said, this is where I got to get better. It did not look for a reason why these things are there or did not look for a place to go to find exploration to get better at them. Okay. You know what's funny? When I listened to that, the guy in front of him, Carson Beck, had a very similar story. Okay. It sounds to me like he had the same recollection Vandergriff does, or has the same recollection as this time last year when everyone in the world was telling Carson Beck that he should transfer, right? The last 2 years, all we've heard about is how Carson Beck should be in the transfer portal. Carson Beck should be in the transfer portal. Carson Beck should be in the transfer portal. Well, guess what? It sounds to me, based off this interview with Aaron Murray in the Players Lounge, that Carson Beck knew exactly where his deficiencies were too, and knew exactly where his feet were planted, and knew exactly that he was, needing to be rooted where he was. Listen to this.
And I was like, when I became starting QB, it was shocking to me, like the attention and everything. And I know there's still a battle going on, but like when that does come, if you do get the opportunity, how do you feel like you're more prepared now than maybe you were 2 years ago to handle everything that comes with being in this position?
Yeah, I will say like 2 years ago, I definitely wasn't ready at all, like not even close. I'd say last year I was probably ready. Yeah. I learned a lot from that, like sophomore season of, not playing much and whatnot and all that stuff. But the last year I was definitely ready. But then sitting behind Stetson last year and really like trying to buy in and like treat every game like I was starting, which is so hard to do when you're not. But trying to the best of my ability to do that. Now coming into this year and some of the playing time that I got, like I played in the very first game, whatever, did pretty well. And then to go into like the national championship and like be able to complete a few passes on third downs and drive the like team down, you know, score 2 touchdowns, like that was pretty like surreal, you know. That's like a lot of kids dream about that. So like even to get the opportunity to do that, like it gives me confidence and instills confidence into me. So like now when I go out there on the field, like I believe in myself. So I guess that's the biggest difference. It's really
again, that to me, if you listen to that, that is a professional. Okay, a professional not only in his approach in that interview. They all speak like that. They're all professional quarterbacks. Every one of them nowadays across the country. Every single young quarterback I talk to speaks like that. Like they've been dreaming of playing the position and doing, and not just the position on the field, but playing the position of quarterback as a person and as a human being and as a leader. They all sound like that. Every single one of them that gets recruited at this level, they all sound like that. But when I listen to that, most importantly, it's the preparation as a starter, right? Going into, and he said it was hard, and it's very, very hard to do, but to go into every single game and prepare as if you are the starter. And if you paid attention last year in all of the mop-up duty that Carson Beck got afforded, because they were beating the brakes off of everybody, like they will beat the brakes off of people this year. If you watched him in those football games, there was clear and obvious signs of development. There were clear and obvious signs of this guy got way better. Where in the hell did it happen? Yeah, sure, it's against mop-up duty, but the dude completed like 80% of his balls last year and scored almost every time his offensive unit got a chance to play offense. We saw development right in front of your eyes. Why wouldn't the guy behind him identify that and identify with those very similar traits? Right? These are all competitive alpha competitors. That's why they came to Georgia. Listen to them talk. They chose Georgia because they wanted to compete, every single one of them. If you think you're good enough to be a guy at this position at quarterback on Sundays, then you better be able to beat the other Sunday guys that are in your room right now, right? You're in a position in a room currently at the University of Georgia where there are multiple potential NFL caliber quarterbacks in that room. There are only a handful of programs in the country that can say that. So if you become the guy in that room, guess what? You're probably going to be a guy on Sundays, which is the ultimate goal. So develop where you're at, or do what every other quarterback does, transfer and ball out and Joe Burrow the thing. I don't know. I really don't. But when I listen to these Georgia quarterbacks, it's the only thing because people ask me, hey, Brooks, how do they keep it on both? Why is Vandergriff not leaving? It's clear that Carson Beck's going to be the guy this fall. Why isn't Vandergriff at Auburn already? Why isn't Vandergriff in the portal? Well, it doesn't make no sense. What's going on? That's the only answer I have. Only quantifiable answer I have. These quarterbacks, particularly these two individuals, have decided, grow where your feet are. If I can't succeed here with all of these assets around me, where am I going to succeed? How am I going to reach the pinnacle? Right? It's the only thing I can explain. And honestly, it's the only reason you can explain the lineage that Alabama had at the quarterback position too. Because if Jalen Hurts doesn't get beat out by a younger guy into a Tagovailoa, they never have a transfer. They never have one of those guys in the quarterback lineage go. They all just wait around. Think about it. From Jalen Hurts to Tua to Mac Jones to Bryce, the only one that left was Jalen because he got beat out by a younger guy. So Bama figured something out, okay, and had individuals on a personal basis that were willing to stick it out, okay? And Georgia has clearly figured something out. Everywhere else, as soon as it's not your job after 18 months, your ass is gone. They just get out. They go somewhere else and find a new place to plant their roots, which, again, is one of these extremes of college football. How y'all doing? We got 2 video clips. We're playing clips. Shouts out to the Players Lounge. Maybe we need to get our bread up so we can just get some interviews with players. Joking. Let's hit our next segment. Let's keep the discussion of culture and transfer portal and decision making. Let's keep that theme of tonight rolling with our third and final topic of the night. Did you know that Deion Sanders was the coach of Colorado? You know that? That's crazy, right? I don't know how you couldn't. If you've turned on any television since January 1st or since whenever he was hired, that's all you're inundated with is Colorado football Colorado football, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders has taken what seemed to be and what was a completely wrecked and destitute football program and turned it into an immediate buzz machine, an immediate content machine, an immediate thing that people talk about on a constant basis. That's exactly what has happened immediately like that. And Georgia fans, this is something that you should recognize, okay? This idea of a new coach coming in, mid-December, early January, and then by March, he got that fan base so hyped up and riled up and ready to friggin' go that they set record sales at a spring game that means nothing. That should sound really familiar, right, to Georgia fans. That's exactly what happened in 2016 with Kirby Smart during his hiring, right? That 2016 G-Day is in historic lore for the Kirby Smart regime. In fact, I would say it was the very first building block of his regime at the University of Georgia. But that's about the extent of any comparisons we about to make between what's going on in Colorado and what Kirby Smart started at the University of Georgia, or how he started it at the University of Georgia. Colorado has obviously been in the news of college football since their spring game on Saturday, not only for the 17 players that have since entered the NCAA transfer portal, but also for the comments from Deion, okay? Let's not make any mistake, because he damn sure didn't. In his very first meeting, Deion Sanders made it very clear. He's bringing his baggage, and his baggage is Louis, or whatever he say. I'm bringing my luggage, which is another term for baggage. I'm bringing my luggage, and my luggage is Louis. He let everybody in that meeting room know that we are about to make drastic roster changes here, okay? So there was no hiding of this at all, okay? And he also told them straight up he's going to be cutthroat from day one. He also doubled down, okay, prior to the spring game. Check this audio out.
Left. How many people come in? Yes, well, both ways. How many people, since you talked about, the transfer portal and people go ahead hopping in during spring practice, how many people have you weeded out? How many people are coming in?
What do you see? We don't weed anyone out. They weed themselves out. We don't we don't make them quit. They quit. Or I don't want to say quit. They jump in the transfer portal. You call that what you want, okay? Before a national televised game, before a sellout crowd. So you call it what you want. Okay, so it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Let me
Hold on.
complete that. We're not upset that anybody jumped in the portal and left. Okay? And we're elated that the young men that we have coming in, because they're difference makers. They're truly difference makers. And we're not trying to find anyone in the portal that's going to come and occupy space. We're looking for go-getters.
All right. So he did a bunch of coach speak there, and he did exactly what a head coach is supposed to do when asked a really solid and pointed question right there from that reporter. I don't know who it was. Did a great job of trying to pin Deion down on roster movements. How many outs, how many ins? And he did a great job of doing what he's supposed to do. Avoid the question, avoid specifics, hype up what you got coming. All right, and that's we coming. That's his whole thing. Hype up what you got coming. That's exactly what a head coach in that position is supposed to do. I'm all for it. Okay, but here's the deal. I think the quotes are important. We don't make them quit. They quit. We're not, we're not upset that anyone jumped in the portal and left. We are elated with the players that we got coming in again. He didn't do anything that he wasn't supposed to do as a coach. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. And again, I'm going to do what the reporter did a good job of doing, which is doing some reporting. I'll give you the numbers. Since Saturday, like I told you, he's had 17 players enter the portal. And since he took over the job, they've had 45 players enter the portal. So again, 17 out just today, 45 total since January. Let's make something really, really clear. The title of this episode is very obvious, and it's needed, right? This is the extreme of college football. Modern college football. But this is not new to college football. Mel Tucker was glorified to the tune of $95 million over 10 years for doing this same exact roster demolition at Michigan State. Okay? I had sources up at Michigan State. Okay? I knew people that were involved up there that told me Mel Tucker was out here doing the old red tag in the locker type stuff. The come on, bring your playbook. Coach needs to talk to you type shit with players, college football players, being that cutthroat about it. The day it was obvious that they were dead weight on the roster, hey, we need to have a talk with coach. We need to get your ass on up out of here because we got to replace you. Okay. The only difference is, the only difference in this really, really cutthroat type of behavior is that Deion Sanders is being very, very open and out front of like this, right? This type of blatancy and honesty on the forefront and on the microphone, okay, this is new to college football. That's what's new to college football. This idea of cutthroat roster management is not. There is no longer love and loyalty in this game. Okay, there was some by way of rules, but with this new portal stuff, there ain't no loyalty in this. This is you either are good enough or you are not, and if you are not, we will replace you. Okay, we won't have to make you quit. You'll want to quote unquote quit, right? Deion Sanders, however, is the first football coach I've ever heard, okay, come out here and speak his truth like this out in front of a mic. Okay, you think he's the first football coach I've ever heard say something along the lines of, I want a defensive lineman that's out here to save mama? Or that he wants a quarterback that comes from a stable home and makes good decisions? You think he's the first football coach to ever say those things? No. He's just the first football coach to ever say that shit on a microphone, which is wild and crazy. And it sounds insane when you first hear it. But these are not new thoughts. These are not new opinions of college football at all. Okay? He's just the first person to grab your ears and scream it in your face and let you know what's happening. Okay? Whether or not you agree with him or not, and I'll be honest with you, I flip-flop on both sides. There's a lot of stuff with Deion that I'm like, all right, that makes sense. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I probably wouldn't do it that way. But for whatever you want to say about him, the thing that I have most respect for Deion Sanders is he is Deion Sanders. He is unabashedly, 100% truthfully himself. That's what he is. And he ain't got no qualms about it. And that, I got to be honest with you, I got to respect the hell out of that because that's what I try to do. I try to give you my 100% thoughts and opinions. And sometimes that comes back to bite me in the ass because I'm not Deion Sanders. All right. I'm just Brooks Austin with a rinky-dink YouTube show. But nonetheless, I appreciate someone who's very, very open and honest with me. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it doesn't really sound clean. It doesn't sound professional. It doesn't, you might not do it if you're a head coach, but he's Deion Sanders. So he's going to do what he wants to do. And again, I don't mind him doing it. I don't think it's for long. I don't think this, I'm not going to call it a charade, but I don't think this necessarily, this shtick at Colorado is for long. I think this is for 2 or 3 years, and then he's on to his next venture. Okay. And wherever his lead or whatever his destination is, this is just a stepping stone along that path to his destination. Because ultimately, I think this ends up in a Power 5 job for Deion Sanders. There's no way it does not. His $35 million contract or whatever it was for 5 years up there at Colorado, that thing has already paid for itself in the form of season tickets and general advertisement for Colorado Buffalo fans. All right. It has already paid itself. So this will happen at another school, and it won't be Colorado. So you know what? When he goes in there, he might not have to act like such a mercenary or, such a villain that's out here just cutthroat, just out here getting rid of 50 scholarship players in 6 month span. Again, this might sound unheralded to you. This might sound crazy to you. You were not paying attention when Michigan State did it. When, Kirk Herbstreit comes on and they're on College Game Day and he's, Mel Tucker and this coaching staff have completely revamped this D'Antonio roster. They've flipped it over 50% roster movement in just 18 months. And they're yippity-you-yawing for all that. Well, do you know how that happened? Son, you're not good enough. We got to get someone who is. Get the hell out. That's how that happened. Do not fool yourself. Do not play games. That is what college football is. It is the most extreme versions of it. It doesn't happen like that everywhere. But at some places where they're trying to change things rapidly, it's exactly what happens. And it is what it is. Just like G5s and private jets and penthouse suites and fucking Las Vegas are the same thing. I got to get out of here before I sound any more off my lawn-ish. I appreciate you guys. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. We'll see you. Horrible show.